Hey guys, it's Danny. Long time no see. It's been 2 days. I'm sorry, it's been such a hectic weekend. But we're back in business and today is the 28th of February, so it's time to see what orchids we had in bloom for this month, and also we'll take a look at the new acquisitions. I have quite a few that I purchased in bloom, so let's recap them and see what flowers we had in February 2017. So first off, we had the Ringcaritas Bangkok Sunset. As you can see, the flowers are already spent, but this orchid bloomed at the beginning of this month. Now the blooms were really nicely colored and they had that really beautiful fragrance that this orchid possesses. However, due to the stress this orchid was put through by myself, she suffered severe sunburn and is now recuperating. The flowers lasted less than in other years, which is a shame, but it's a lesson for me and I will just have to treat her better and not give her the quantity of light that usually my Vandas received. I did actually make a video about this orchid. I also presented an article made by MissOrchidGirl, so I'll link you down below to that video and learn more about this orchid. It is one of my most precious orchids, I have to say, not because it's expensive, but because I really like it. So for this reason, obviously she is in my crown jewel category. So for more information about her, do check the description down below. And as my personal thoughts, it's a miniature Vanda orchid that I think fits in many homes. It doesn't require a lot of light, it has beautiful flowers and really fragrant, and it's just a great addition for small spaces. Alrighty, next up we have the Dendrobium Berry, yet another very fragrant and nice orchid. My previous Berryota had a little bit of an issue. The flowers were really not long lasting. This one seems to be more long lasting and just as beautiful and fragrant. And if you don't know who this guy is, it's one of the ICU orchids that I received in January of last year from my friend Ana Maria, which you can also visit because she has a YouTube channel. I'll link you to her down below. So in 2017, this orchid really bounced back nicely. She created some nice looking canes and 3 flower spikes for me this year. In the description, you will also have a video in which I talk more about this orchid. It is one of the orchids that I'm actually recommending for beginners. Because it is a hybrid of the Kingianum, it doesn't really need a winter rest. Whatever it received, it's just my climate influencing my grow space. But definitely it was not a drastic winter rest. I kept watering this orchid, it kept asking me for water, and the flower spikes developed and bloomed nicely. This orchid seems to have gained popularity in the past few years, so I'm pretty sure at some point you will find it in the stores. You can find it at IKEA. I've seen it quite a lot this time of the year, but also flower shops and other garden centers. And did I mention it's fragrant? Yes, it smells like honey. Another orchid we've enjoyed in February is the Epicatlia René-Marquez Flamethrower. Now this has actually bloomed in January, but the blooms are still going strong. As you can see, the colors have faded slightly, but very elegantly, and not to such an extent as to make the flowers washed out. Now one of my viewers suggested that this orchid, or her particular individual, has a little bit of a fragrance, and to her it smells a little like lemons. I didn't feel anything on mine, but I do know that some orchid flowers, which are not necessarily fragrant, do have a little bit of a fragrance that reminds of freshly cut grass or lemons. Compared to other fragrant orchids, this is really not fragrant, but it really doesn't need it, because the blooms are just so spectacular and pretty and colorful that it will surely put a smile on your face. Now the care for this orchid is very similar to Cattleya orchids, and I do have her on my IKEA stand, which I will link you to down below. And she is receiving very bright light. She is getting water whenever the medium is almost completely dry or completely dried out. She's still in her original medium of bark, so there's really no danger if I let her dry out, but I usually don't let her be dry for too many days. Another orchid that started to open her flowers this month is the Phalaenopsis Timothy Christopher. I purchased this one last year, summer at the beginning of summer, and sadly it was severely sunburned, so the flower display is really not full potential. I currently have 15 buds and flowers, but this orchid is capable of producing up to 30 flowers or even more, depending how the flower spike branches. So it is a really gorgeous Phalaenopsis hybrid to have and just as easy to care for as other Phalaenopsis. It isn't fragrant like most Phalaenopsis complex hybrids are, but with a beautiful display it really doesn't need to. It is also white, which makes it very elegant, and if you do enjoy Phalaenopsis a lot, I really think this hybrid will put a smile on your face, particularly if it has a big impressive bloom display. So you can see that mine doesn't look all that great, and the foliage is recuperating. It's kind of tiny compared to the older leaves. This is a leaf which I think will fall. It never really bounced back, but the orchid has quite a lot of roots. With some proper attention, it will grow into its full potential. But this year, Sally, I don't think I can ask more from her. Now, if you don't know her and how she looked like in the beginning, of course, I will link it down below, so you'll see how absolutely horrible she looked. So take this into account and remember that Phalaenopsis orchids are pretty sensitive when it comes to direct sunshine. The warmer it is in the growing space, the more chances you have to actually completely sunburn the leaves. Another orchid that has been in bloom the past month is the Oncidium Twinkle, but Sally, again, due to stress factors and a very tiny pseudobulb, the flowers really didn't last, and as you can see, the flower display is, well, let's just say it's far from what it should be. Also, the flowers didn't last all that long. I had about 3 weeks of total blooming time from this guy, but of course he was still fragrant and the flowers were really pretty once again. I'll link you down below to a video about this orchid and a little bit of a better display. The Twinkles are definitely one of my favorite Oncidium, and I'm really looking forward to buy the cinnamon colored one, also the white one and the yellow one. Treated correctly, this orchid can produce a multitude of flowers, and they're just so fragrant and nice that it's simply worth having. This is a miniature orchid, and for her size, she produces really big flower spikes with an abundance of flowers. The Twinkle again is one of those easy orchids, so even if you're a beginner with orchids, the Twinkle is a good option, but I would definitely encourage you to learn a little bit more about Oncidiums in general, because they really are not the same as Phalaenopsis. They actually do enjoy quite a lot of moisture. One more bloom we had this month came from a Miltoniopsis, and this is the Red Tide. Now, she didn't create any new growths, but the growths she came with are actually in pretty good condition. So she created another tiny flower spike with one flower, and currently she's working on another one. Now, as you can see, this orchid has already been repotted and transferred, and I did this about a week ago. As you can see, the pseudobulbs did not shrivel quite at all, and this is because, well, surprisingly enough, she had a really decent root system, and I was really gentle with removing the old medium from her roots. I managed not to destroy too many roots, and the result is that the orchid is actually taking to the repotting very well, so I'm really looking forward to these blooms. If somehow I see that the pseudobulbs start to shrivel up, I will definitely cut this flower spike and let the orchid focus rather on root production and another new growth. At this point, I really don't think it will happen, so I'm pretty happy and quite shocked. I was not expecting this orchid to be in such good condition. When I purchased it, there was something I really didn't like about her, but it turns out she was only dehydrated. She actually did have a nice root system, and after a good watering, she rehydrated and is growing quite nicely still. Okay, so these were the orchids that we had in bloom, but now let's check out the new additions, because we had quite the nice orchids this month. So I will start with my absolute favorite, and not only for this month, but in general, the beautiful Nellie I Allure. If you missed the video presentation I did on this one, check it down below. It's a little bit different, a little bit more artistic. And funny thing, it would appear that it's actually a new variety. Now, I'm not sure if it has a name. Roger here just found her, and the seller put the tag of red velvet on it. So I'm not entirely sure if this variety name is registered in any way, but I cannot find a better name for it. The flowers are indeed very velvety. They are red, although on camera they appear very flashy. In reality, they are very dark red, but it's that type of color that reflects light, and it simply doesn't appear on camera as it is in reality. One of those colors is the purple that the Vandas have. So this orchid is still opening up her flowers, still no pattern, no white tessellation, nothing, just this beautiful veining on the lip. Oh, and the color of this one is just gorgeous. Now, I'm not sure if this particular Nellie I Allure is easier to care for than other Nellie I Allures. We all know she's a little bit finicky and doesn't appreciate dry air, dry conditions, and also very warm temperatures. But we will see. If they manage to work a little bit on her preferences, then this means that we can all enjoy Nellie I Allures in multiple different climates, which would be great. So hopefully it's going to be the case. One thing that I wanted to show you, if you look at the little stem of the flower, you can see that it starts out kind of green and then it fades to a really dark red as it heads toward the flower. Now, I'm not entirely sure. I need to check some of my videos, but I'm not sure if the normal Nellie I Allure has this trait. I never noticed it so far, but this doesn't mean that it doesn't have a red stem. However, if it doesn't, then yet another trait of this particular variety, it has a very dark red stem. and of course the wonderful fragrance that Nellie I Allures are known for. Another new addition this month is a peloric Phalaenopsis, and this is the Phalaenopsis Pirate Piketty. I did a video on this one and regarding peloric orchids. If you missed it and would like to see it, you'll find it down below in the description. Now, good news with this orchid. Remember I was telling you these flowers look like they have closed petals, and I was not sure if it was because of the packaging or not. Well, it was because of the packaging, because the new flowers are opening up flat, which is more to my preference actually, so I'm really happy. Now, one thing that happens with these brush strokes, I like to call them brush strokes petals, or actually orchids, is that after a while they tend to really fade out. And I'll give you one example, the Phalaenopsis bee sting, if I'm not mistaken. When the flowers first open, they are really nicely colored and the red brush strokes are really noticeable. But as the flower ages, it becomes really washed out. Now, the bee sting is a Phalaenopsis hybrid that I really enjoy, but I never purchased it because the colors really don't last on it. So that's something I really didn't like, but it doesn't seem to happen with this one. So this is a pretty old flower, and yes, of course, the older the flower is, the more it's a little bit more washed out, but it's definitely not completely washed out. The brush strokes are still very vivid, so I'm happy this one doesn't go through the same color change that the bee sting goes through. Again, not fragrant, but really it compensates with her appearance. And the final new addition that just happened to be in bloom this month is another Phalaenopsis hybrid. I received this one from my boyfriend for Valentine's Day. He really likes Harlequin type Phalaenopsis orchids. So these ones and the purple ones are his absolute favorites. And this one that he picked out is really pretty. And you know what I like most about it? No petal is identical to another petal, as you can see, and no flower is identical to a previous flower. So there's always a little bit of variation in these dots. And some of the flowers have almost completely purple sepals. I actually really enjoy it because it's absolutely elegant. I like white edges, not to mention that I like white flowers, but these white edges with this really deep purple in the center, they really make her elegant, don't you think? Now, I can only envision the much better display she will have next year when I will try to make the flower spike pendant and have that cascade type of flowers. With Phalaenopsis orchids, for me, it's a struggle during the year because they have really big foliage. It takes up a lot of space. I'm not the hugest fan of their foliage and their growth habit, but when they are in bloom, in full bloom, they are absolutely amazing. They do put on a great show, and hopefully we'll get to see my show somewhere in March or April. Due to my extended summers that I have in this climate, they are really late with their blooms, but they're developing nicely. Things are warm outside right now, it's springtime, so hopefully in March, if not in April, we'll have a really great display from the Phalaenopsis as well. So these were the orchids that we had in bloom this month. For the next month, I think we'll have a few more because many of them are preparing the buds right now. We'll definitely get to see the Amethystoglosum. I think we'll see the Ringcaritas Francis Fox as well. We will get to see the Callia intermedia variety Queenie, and with a bit of luck, maybe the Leptodes bicolor as well. Hopefully the Tolumnia orange. The Angraecum, I'm not really sure. Maybe that one will be for April. Hopefully the Kirchara, and I don't know, a few more blooms. So definitely springtime will come in my greenhouse as well. So I'm really looking forward for that. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video. Remember, you have all details and the names of the orchids we just saw down in the description below, so you can Google them, learn more about them if you want. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for daily orchids and plants videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye! I actually purchased 2 new plants. I have 2 cyclamen here. Now, funny thing, these guys are actually, I'm not sure if I should say native, but they naturally grow in my area, so they're hardy to my area. I can definitely keep them on the terrace, of course not in direct sunshine, so hopefully without too much trouble I will be able to grow these. The colors are just so pretty. I've actually never seen these gradient type of colors. So this is a more redder one and this is a purple one. They had different colors actually. I would have purchased more, but I had to purchase some orchids as well, and orchids always have priority.